She got the freedom she wanted, then reality hit, and nobody warned her that freedom without structure feels different at 22 than it does at 35. In the beginning, it felt like power. It felt like breaking chains nobody could see, but everybody pretended were there. She said she refused to settle. She said she would never depend on a man. She said she would build her own life on her own terms. And for a while, that story felt intoxicating. The attention was endless. The options felt infinite. Social media validated every decision. Friends applauded every boundary she set. The culture told her she was brave for walking away from anything that felt inconvenient, uncomfortable, or imperfect, and she believed it. But here is the part nobody tells you when you are standing on the cliff of liberation, looking down at the life you just left behind. Freedom is not just the absence of responsibility. It is the presence of consequence, and consequence is quiet at first. It does not shout. It waits. In her 20s, the world feels forgiving. Time feels elastic. You can make mistakes and still believe you have decades to correct them. The men who pursued her were plentiful. If one bored her, another appeared. If one disappointed her, she told herself she deserved better. There was always better somewhere, or at least the illusion of it. And illusions are powerful when you have youth on your side. The problem was not that she wanted freedom. Freedom is not the enemy. The problem was that she confused freedom with immunity. She thought walking away meant winning. She thought rejecting commitment meant strength. She thought independence meant never needing anyone. But independence without interdependence becomes isolation. And isolation does not announce itself. It creeps in slowly. The men she once dismissed began to disappear into marriages. The boring guy who wanted stability became a husband. The ambitious but imperfect man she felt she could upgrade from became someone else's provider. The average but loyal man she felt she outgrew built a life with a woman who valued consistency over excitement. And she told herself she was happy for them, but something inside her shifted. Because while she was chasing experiences, life was making choices for her too. Biology does not negotiate. Time does not pause for empowerment speeches. The market of attraction changes with age whether anyone likes it or not, and that is where reality began to hit. For men watching this, understand this is not about mocking women. It is about understanding dynamics. You have been told your entire life that your value is conditional. Earn more, be stronger, be more confident, be more disciplined. You were never told you were enough just because you existed. She was, and that difference shapes expectations. When she left relationships in pursuit of something better, she assumed better would always be available. But better requires leverage, and leverage changes with time. At 25, leverage comes from youth and beauty. At 35, leverage must come from character, stability, warmth, and cooperation. And if those muscles were never developed because independence was prioritized over partnership, the adjustment is brutal. Reality hit not in one dramatic moment but in subtle ways. Fewer messages, fewer serious suitors, more situationships. Men who were once eager to commit now hesitant. Younger women entering the scene. Standards remained high but options narrowed. And pride makes it hard to admit that something fundamental shifted. She still posted confident captions. She still spoke about not settling. But privately she wondered why the quality of men felt different. She noticed the men she respected most were not lining up. They were cautious. They were selective. They were no longer impressed by credentials alone. They wanted peace. They wanted loyalty. They wanted admiration. And many had learned hard lessons from previous relationships. This is where men need clarity. When a woman says she wants freedom, often she means she wants options. When she says she does not need a man, often she means she does not need a specific man. And when she leaves in search of something better, she assumes time is on her side. But time is neutral. It rewards preparation and punishes denial. She began to feel the gap between expectation and reality. The career was stable, yes. The apartment was hers. The independence was intact. But the quiet evenings felt longer. Success tasted different without someone to share it with. Trips were fun, but returning to an empty space felt heavier each year, and the friends who once validated her choices were now busy with families. There is a psychological shift that happens when freedom turns into responsibility without partnership. Bills are not romantic. Illness is not empowering. Aging is not glamorous. The world feels colder when you realize you must face every storm alone. Independence feels powerful until you crave support and cannot easily access it. Men watching this often feel disrespected in modern dating because they sense something unspoken. They sense that they are evaluated like products: income, status, height, charisma. They feel compared constantly to an invisible roster of alternatives, and many respond by withdrawing. They focus on themselves. They build quietly. They reduce emotional investment because they do not want to be temporary placeholders in someone else's search for perfection. She did not expect that shift. She assumed men would always compete for her. She did not anticipate that men would begin opting out, that some would prioritize peace over passion, that some would choose cooperative partners over high-drama independence, that some would simply decide the risk was not worth it. And here is where reality becomes undeniable. The narrative that you can have unlimited freedom without trade-offs is incomplete. Every choice eliminates another possibility. When you leave a good man in pursuit of a hypothetical better one, you are gambling with time. Sometimes you win, often you do not, but the cost is always paid in years. This is not about blaming women. It is about understanding patterns. Society encourages women to maximize optionality while encouraging men to maximize utility. Women are told they deserve the best without necessarily being told what it takes to sustain the best. Men are told they must become the best or risk invisibility. These conflicting messages create chaos. She wanted freedom from compromise, but commitment requires compromise. She wanted freedom from accountability, but partnership requires accountability. She wanted to feel chosen without having to choose definitively herself. But mutual investment demands risk from both sides. When reality hit, it was not loud. It was the realization that attraction alone is not enough to secure long-term loyalty. It was understanding that men with options are also selective. It was seeing that respect matters more than validation, and respect cannot coexist with constant comparison. For men aged 25 to 45 who feel lost, here is the deeper truth. The world may not validate you early. It may not celebrate your grind. But if you build discipline, character, financial stability, and emotional strength, your leverage often increases with time. That is your advantage. That is your quiet power. You are not on the same biological timeline. Your peak is not confined to youth alone. But that does not mean bitterness is the answer. It means clarity is. Understand the game without hating the players. Understand that some women will chase freedom until they realize stability was not oppression but protection. Understand that some will return when options narrow, and decide in advance who you are willing to be for. She began to reconsider her past choices, not publicly. Pride resists confession, but privately she thought about the man who was steady, the man who offered consistency, the man who wanted to build slowly. She once saw him as limiting. Now she saw him as secure, but he had moved on. This is where the lesson crystallizes. Freedom feels empowering when you believe time is abundant. Reality hits when you realize time was the real currency all along, and once spent, it cannot be refunded. For you, the man listening, the takeaway is not revenge. It is responsibility. Build yourself so thoroughly that you are not chosen out of desperation but out of genuine desire. Develop standards that prioritize peace, respect, and cooperation. Do not chase validation from someone who sees you as replaceable, and do not ignore red flags disguised as empowerment. She got the freedom she wanted. She traveled, she explored, she dated, she refused to settle, and in many ways she grew, but growth without foresight carries consequences. When the excitement faded and the marketplace shifted, she faced a reality nobody prepared her for. Independence does not eliminate loneliness. Options do not guarantee commitment, and empowerment without wisdom can become regret. Meanwhile, the men who felt invisible at 25 often become formidable at 35. The discipline compounds, the finances stabilize, the confidence hardens into calm certainty, and suddenly the same qualities once overlooked become desirable. That shift can create resentment if you are not careful. Do not let it. Use it as leverage to choose wisely. Reality is not cruel. It is consistent. It rewards preparation and punishes fantasy. She believed freedom meant no consequences. She learned that every path has a price. You must decide which price you are willing to pay. In the end, this is about alignment. If you want long-term partnership, build long-term qualities. If you want temporary excitement, accept temporary results. If you want respect, embody strength and boundaries. And if someone walks away to chase the illusion of something better, let them. Because sometimes the only way people understand value is by losing access to it. She got the freedom she wanted. Then reality hit. And reality does not negotiate with feelings. It responds to choices.